did.
Oh,
We'll
my
take
goodness. Great. Celtics.
We're speechless.
Celtics, possibly, likely, win of the year. They absolutely destroyed Toronto, 122-100. It wasn't even close. This was a 40-point game. This was comfortably a 30-something point game. Best win of the year, possibly. We could talk about that. But guys, opening thoughts, and then we'll kind of get into what happened tonight. But this was, I mean, right now, stay away from Celtics Twitter because we're punching tickets to the
finals. It's time to gloat, right?
We're punching tickets to the finals right now. We want LeBron. Like this was something.
Especially now, they're pretty secure as the 3 seed. It feels like now after this win, and then you'll wind up against this team round 2. Philly's got an injury situation going on, so have at it.
Yeah,
Milwaukee's still a monster,
Celtics.
But
Stop. Just stop with the Milwaukee talk. Just stop.
All right, so
on this game.
I'll keep it to this game.
Wait, did I introduce you guys?
No, but you know what?
We are.
It's
the same
Jimmy,
people
Bobby.
every night.
Okay,
we're not worth it.
All right.
We have a dedicated audience.
Yeah.
So the rotation feels like it got set to some degree tonight, and that's what they've been looking for the most part. You get Kemba to play around 30 minutes in this one. Great rotations into the third quarter, and we have to talk about Rob Williams, right? He pretty much comes out and claims the backup center role in this
Can
one.
you pump the brakes here a little bit?
You couldn't go 30 seconds without bringing up Rob Williams.
It got to be a top 2 story out of this game, right?
But first things first, I want to ask. Okay, just to get out of the way, was this an example? Because is this real? Right, coming into the game, if you're watching the broadcast, Scal, for example. I mean, everybody was pumping Toronto. We did a preview on them. We were watching them play. In the bubble, they're playing better than everybody right now. Probably the best team in the bubble, arguably. And Scal, before the game on the broadcast, says, you know what? Right now, I think they're the best team in the East ahead of the Bucks.
I didn't.
Whether that's true or not, what I'm saying is there was a ton of love for Toronto coming in. They're being overlooked. It's a legit championship contender without Kawhi. And they got absolutely curb stomped tonight by the Celtics. So the question is, was this Celtics good or Raptors bad or somewhere in the middle?
Well, it's got to be both, right? I mean, obviously people want to be extreme one way or the other, but the truth is I don't think the Raptors were as bad as, they're not as bad as they played tonight.
Clearly.
But you have to give Celtics credit for the defense they played. They came to win tonight. They came to make a point and play and give it to all. It almost felt like Brad may have said, "Hey guys, this is going to be our last real game that we're going to all play together before the playoffs. So let's see what you got. This is a test here." And they came and answered the bell, and I'm shocked. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, the last couple of shows, I think it was last game that I was on. We were pumping, I was pumping the Raptors. The Raptors scare me, and they're a team that's big.
Right. We're talking about difficult matchups. They're long. They're big.
They've been there before. They're defending champions. They get no respect. You can go down the line on all the reasons why the Raptors are this, underrated team that could just smack you around. And the Celtics come out and completely do the opposite, right? They do smacking. So I was surprised, but it does remind you how talented the Celtics team is when they're all clicking. And it felt like tonight, as good as they played, I can't say that one player really, really, really stood up over everybody else. It felt like a team win. It felt like just an even balanced attack all the way through.
Yeah. And you got to put yourself in the other team's shoes, too. Like, we definitely said that this was going to be a tough matchup for the Celtics, but on our imaginary Raptors pregame show, like, they're looking at this too, saying this is a monster for the Raptors. Like, this is a team we probably want to avoid if we can. Like, they're probably looking at this saying we'd rather prefer Philly in round 1 because you got all these wing defenders. And what I think Brad did best, you would have thought Tatum would be the guy on Siakam, but they put Brown out there.
Yep.
And he set a tone defensively, was stonewalling him in the post.
Yep.
And that was what disrupted Toronto's offense early. Like, they could not get into that deep post area, kick it out to the shooters. It was the shooting flat for sure, but they couldn't get into a spot in the defense where they could produce quality open looks until about 10 shots in, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. Joe Sway, what do you think?
I don't know, man. I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Hey, I want to say this.
Starting the party without Josue.
I'm glad that coward Josue showed up because he was taking a lot of heat from Raptors fans. A couple videos ago, you were crapping all over the Raptors. And they came hard at you.
Oh, they came funny. For Josue.
Jimmy, how was that crapping on them? Yo, enlighten me. How's that crap on the Raptors?
Because you said they were boring, and that got a lot of fans upset because you called the Raptors boring.
No, you're cutting the quote, Jimmy. I said out of the three top teams,
you said they were boring.
Raptors are the most boring one out of the three top teams.
No. You were like,
were the Raptors boring tonight?
You're like,
how'd they look tonight?
No one wants to watch the Raptors. No one wants to watch
the Raptors.
Is Josue allowed to come late with this kind of attitude?
No, it looks like he woke up on the wrong. He just woke up.
Maybe an apology. I'm sorry, Jimmy.
Yo, wow! The producer pulled up 27 minutes late last episode, and I got to get the heat for it.
It was like 16 minutes. So what we're talking about, Josue, we'll catch you up. Okay, the Celtics and the Raptors played a basketball game tonight, and Boston played really well. Our question is, was this real or not? And the one thing that reminds me of a little bit, because everyone's gonna freak out and overreact, which is what we do, but it does remind me a little bit of Milwaukee Game 1 last year, where the Celtics played a near perfect game, and Paul Pierce declares the series over, and everybody's like, oh, because if you looked at just that game, if that's all the tape you had to go on those two teams, you'd say, wow.
That's a good point.
This team is so good. Look at all the problems they gave them, and that's what tonight looked like.
Right.
But again, it's just one game.
Luckily, we have 4 games, realistically.
Yeah.
Between those is a healthy Kemba Walker. Like, how much of a difference maker was that? Offensively, whether we're talking about the way the ball moves, whether we're talking about the way the the Toronto Raptors defend, like, just having Kemba Walker out there just opens up the paint because the entire defense moves up because they're afraid about that pull-up shot. You think that Celtics, you think the NBC Sports New England put that stat up there by design? Yeah, they did. They wanted to show you how good he really is in the pull-up situation. And when you look at the situation between them and the Raptors, when Kemba's out there, who is wide open, chilling in the corner, having open looks throughout the entire first quarter? Jaylen Brown. Now, Jaylen Brown struggled at first, though, right? He didn't knock down those 2 shots, but defensively,
he missed his first 3 3-pointers.
3.
And then,
excuse me, 3. I said 2.
And then he stepped back and hit the 28-footer. To get himself in rhythm.
Yeah,
because he couldn't get any space, and the shot clock's winding down. He's like, "Screw it, I'll shoot for 30."
Right,
and
but
he drained that one.
Defensively, though, your boy Siakam was rattled. He did come out pretty good after halftime, but you have to give a lot of credit to what Jaylen Brown means on the defensive end.
And this is what I was saying at the very beginning.
He's the beneficiary of these open looks because everybody's looking at Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum.
I'm going to say this. Josue came in hot, and I love it. I want you late every time.
Came in real hot.
You are.
You got to catch up. That's how it goes.
You are spicy right now. I love it.
All right, he passed
throw me in the fire.
Josue, you're 100% right. This is exactly what I talked about at the beginning of the bubble, because Tatum came in slow, especially when we watched him in the preseason, and Jaylen was just lighting it up from game 1 and hasn't stopped since. So he can be the best player on this team any given night when he's setting the tone defensively. And all of a sudden you have a guy that you can put on the best player on any given team looking on the other side, and there's going to be an impact, it looks like. Like, he is creating his impact on the defensive end and turning in the offense at a high rate.
Real quick, I'm going to let everybody know who's watching us on all of our platforms. Doesn't matter where you are. Send us a question. We can see it here on the stream, and we will respond to it. Right now I'm putting up something from Davi. Was talking about Jaylen, who did have an incredible game.
Welcome, Davi.
Yep, incredible game tonight. There's a lot of you on here, so by all means, fire away your questions.
And
guys, keep
criticisms.
Going.
Yeah, Josue, anything.
Yeah, anything you want. If you want to
any
crap
Raptors
on
fans in here.
You want to crap on Josue?
Am I wrong though? Like, that's all I said, man. Whatever I had to say about the Raptors' perception from the national stage, right? From everyday NBA fans, it doesn't take away from the fact that they've been dominating more than any other Eastern Conference team. Like, and I said that in that video. Like, that's the thing about Raptors fans. And you know what my favorite part is about those comments, though? They proved my point. Oh, all you talking heads, all you talk about is the Celtics versus the Bucks, and no one talks about what we're doing. That's my point. That's what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see the Celtics versus the Bucks.
That's exactly what we talked about. Is no matter even as we were leading into the preview, we were talking about that. People aren't talking about them. We've been saying this now for the last week or so. Everyone's sleeping on Toronto because you're just looking at, Celtics are the best team, Bucks are the best team, and it's totally true. Tonight's not going to help Toronto's cause, so we're sorry for those of you out there who got mad at Josue. But
you can come at him again, though.
Yeah,
I'll say this.
Better tune in though.
I
want all the smoke.
I don't think majority of NBA fans like watching the Bucks.
Yeah,
I don't. Giannis, as great as he is not a fun player to watch to me. He's not like he that's not how basketball is meant to play. Like, he's an athletic freak. He's the Greek freak, and he's so easy
he's a dad playing with his children. That's what it's like to me. It's boring. It's a dad
on the highest level.
It's a dad playing.
All right, so what do you don't want three? I'm guessing you guys don't love the 3-point revolution. You don't want the next Shaq. What do we need? Mid range?
What we want is for you kids to have some respect, Bobby.
Yeah,
this is a generational thing.
The Raptors play like more team basketball. Like,
Giannis is going back in the old direction, isn't he?
What's that?
Giannis is just too good. Like, he's just like Xanis just said. He's just the dad.
No, the reason I agree to an extent. The reason it's boring is it's not like beautiful or artistic. He just goes in a straight line to the basket, and he's so physically imposing that you either can't stop him or you have to foul him, and it becomes not boring in terms of hard to watch. It's just boring because the outcome is so predictable. It's like a cheat code.
But it kind of is. To me, it actually is kind of boring a little bit compared to other superstars that I could watch play. Like, I'm not taking anything away from his talent, but like, I'd rather watch basketball players drop 30 points a different way than Giannis does.
This is a homery thing here, but aesthetically, the Celtics are as fun as any to watch in the NBA.
Well, this is a good question. Like, who would the league want out of the East? Because Milwaukee, not a big market. Toronto, you don't get the national TV numbers as we always talk about. Boston, there's no LeBron, there's no New York City. Like,
a little boring, right, Bobby? Would you say it's a little boring?
Really wants out of them. No.
Celtics would get a good market. Philly would get a good crowd.
It's gotta be Philly.
Toronto would do better than Milwaukee. I mean, there are. I mean, yeah, you're right. There's no LeBron anymore over here, so you're not.
Giannis is the star power out of the East, though. That's gonna drive a finals audience, I guess.
Yeah. Let's go Raptors. We've got it in the comments right here.
Here they are. Josue's nightmares.
Here they are. They're winning the championship.
Yo, how's the six tonight? What y'all doing tonight? You guys drinking your sorrows away? What's up with the six?
Do you think Celtics can do the same thing to the Raptors in the second round?
And again, so let's get into it.
That's a no.
If the Celtics were to face them here, again, it's 7 games. We've got 4 games.
Raptors fans are active.
They're here and they're mad at Josue. So we're gonna let them have their pound of flesh.
Yeah, let them go.
Here it is. Let's go Raps. Okay, they're here. They're here and they're listening.
I think we've got one Raptors fan who's just incessant.
It is. It's the same guy.
Okay,
it's the same guy. I'm gonna pivot off the Raptors. We talked about them a bit. Right now, you feel pretty good about it, but look. They've played them 4 times. The last game, as we said before, was in December. You haven't had a good look, but they have beaten them 3 out of 4 times now. The third game was a real ugly one for the Celtics. But matchup-wise, at this point, you have to give the Celtics the edge. It seems less scary now that you've seen it. Right.
This was real. Like, they got into the third quarter. It was a 10-point game. They made 4 straight shots out of halftime. Forced Brad to call the timeout. And their bench rotations couldn't keep up with Rob, Wanamaker, Smart. And I think that's where you really look at this as a turning point for the Celtics. They're finding consistent production off the bench, even without a Smart. I mean, Smart's 3 for his last 22 right now.
Can we talk about his shot selection? Holy wow.
It feels like it's disappeared.
Oh, my God. What is he doing? It's just he
just has to green.
He's trying to find his stroke again. So,
right. For him doing weird stuff.
He's going to keep shooting. Yeah, that's old hat. That's what he's going to do.
Oh, he was so great against Milwaukee, too. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Well,
I think what's most encouraging is the fact that Brad Stevens' approach to this game was like a playoff game. You saw an 8-man rotation. You saw how precise it was. Robert Williams comes in, the second guy off the bench after Marcus Smart. You saw how he's sort of envisioning those 2 guys as the anchor, which I kind of alluded to a couple nights ago. That's exactly what I want to see from this second unit, and that's what's going to make them dominant in the postseason. Like, if you don't have somebody like Robert Williams to help out Marcus Smart in that second unit, like, Marcus needs help. And if we're talking about a team that looks like, obviously, what we saw today, a healthy Kemba Walker playing 30 minutes, I don't even care if he's not 100%. All right, if he plays 30 minutes, that's pretty much all the Celtics need. And if that can keep going throughout the postseason, you're in really good shape.
Kemba's huge for them, obviously. That goes without saying. But we keep talking about this is the rotation. Enes Kanter didn't play tonight, or at least he didn't play until the fourth quarter.
That's a little troublesome.
Did he go in late in the fourth? Because I missed the very end.
Not for me.
I mean, essentially he didn't play. So we're talking about the rotation. It's all of a sudden Rob Williams is in a playoff rotation. I mean, this is the same guy who like 3 days ago came in for less than a minute and made 3 fouls. And now we're talking about now he's the seventh guy. All of a sudden, like
Grant's not even in the rotation anymore. The way
oh, poor Grant. Yeah, he was just. Yeah.
Grant's had a tough
He'll be all right.
So I'm not as shocked to see Grant not play as I would be to not see Kanter play, because in a 7-game series, Enes Kanter is getting in the series. He's playing in the series. I mean, he's been a guy that's been relied upon all season long, and he's not just out of the rotation just like that. So I was kind of surprised to not see him play tonight.
Well, here's the thing.
Related.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Jimmy. I mean, it's a luxury if you get situations where you can use him in a matchup dependent sort of way instead of
right. I mean, they didn't need him when they were.
It's the only big I have off the bench, right. And Bobby, Bobby's white knuckling it every single second he gets off the bench here because it's he's so worried about surviving the Kanter minutes. And you're right, you do have to survive them in some ways because he's where he's Mr. 11-0 run by the other team, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what did we do all that work for? So he could wipe it out. So he could wipe it out.
2-3 minutes from him could have made this a completely different game.
Right,
this could have gone down in the wire
a whole
being a
quarter, right? And
but he still needed. I mean, the Celtics had a luxury tonight because they were ahead in this game. I mean, there are not going to be games clearly when they have these games. You're going to need Kanter on offense. Rob Williams is not your offensive.
Well,
five.
let's get there.
I'm not even looking at offense in particular. I'm talking about rebounding.
So it's situational.
Second chance opportunities. He is that important.
Yeah, he is. But let's get to Rob because, again, Rob with the lobs or the weak side blocks, we've seen him do that. He's great. But a couple things that impressed me a lot tonight. His hands are terrific, so he's catching those passes in traffic, which means you can look for him on the drive and the dish there, not just the lob. He made a couple of really nice catches down low. His free throw stroke, again, he only took free throws, looks better to me than it did earlier in the year. I don't know what it is. It just looks smoother. And then he had one where he got the ball in the post, kind of lost control, turned around, and just knocked down a little baseline jumper there, which looked like a really normal thing for, like he does it all the time. It didn't look out of character. And these are all mini little evolutions, it just, he's definitely evolving some, beyond what we've seen of him or what we know of him to be.
You know what was the one play that really made me think to myself, okay, Rob Williams is ready? It was Serge Ibaka getting ready to take a three. It was one of the
and he didn't go flying out at him.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was one for Serge Ibaka, he used to do it better a couple of years ago, but it's still pretty, you'll jump. From the three, one-on-one, and Robert Williams didn't hesitate. He put his arm up, but he didn't leave his feet. That's what used to drive me crazy about Rob Williams. He would constantly leave his feet, and it's a foul or it's a given layup every single time. He's not doing it now. That's huge. That's a huge development.
You think they tied cinder blocks to his feet in quarantine?
Something happened. I don't know what happened. I mean, this was his best game of his career by far. This is not even a close number two. And the Nets were the Nets. It's practically a G League team. I don't know what got into him.
Don't move that camera. Don't move that camera, Bob.
Yeah, I was going to make that joke.
Talking about Rob.
Oh, man. Yeah, so, you talk about the...
Put it that way, all right? That's how excited Bobby is.
You talk about the scoring, too, Jimmy. He has 10 points in 11 minutes tonight. 18 and 18 in the Nets game. So he finds a way to contribute in the scoring game, too, as long as people are setting him up. Do you really want Kanter post-ups as a way to get points off the bench? I
just like his rebounding, Bobby. That's the only concern for me.
I'm not angry that Kanter didn't play, but I do think that he's going to be a contributor numerous points going forward. So I'm just surprised he didn't get any burn against a team that there's a good chance you might see in the playoffs, depending on how
we talked about I think it was against Milwaukee, he struggled, and it was a stretch that brought them out of the game. And, you guys were saying Brad managed them well during the year to the point where they could get a little bit from him and not
get
pull them out of the game.
Yeah.
And in certain games, it's just going to mean not playing them. It really is to me.
Mm-hmm. Which is fine. And look, we keep saying the same thing. You would love to see Rob Williams with his natural skill set take more of those minutes, but you got to feel good about him in every facet of the game, So every game like this, he shows you a little bit more. You feel a little better, if not taking all of Kanter's minutes, but cutting into them and contributing the way he did, which is great. I mean,
this is real from Rob. You asked about this game. Is this real? I'm almost scared to dive down this hole all the way, and I already have. But is this real from Rob? I guess that's the bigger question.
That's what you want to know, and you got a few games to figure it out. We were talking about it right before we went on the air. You're locked into the 3 at this point. You're not catching Toronto even with the win tonight. Miami lost. That's it. So now you can do whatever. Again, so this is all about figure it out. Keep your stars sharp. You do not want to get rusty. You don't want to. There's a lot of people saying put him in bubble wrap after this game. Absolutely not. I want to see at least a first.
Tonight too.
Not this team.
I want to see this team continue to play in this rhythm, even if it's only for a half. But I want to see Rob mix in with start. You got to experiment. Rob mix in with starters. We didn't see Romeo at all in the rotation tonight because there's no foul trouble, and Semi came in and actually played pretty well in that kind of wing roll off the bench. You want to see that too. It was a bummer after his last game. We didn't really see much of him, but that's what I want to see these games, the last few games here.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, you said, is this real for Rob? I mean, it's definitely real in the sense this is huge for Rob himself to have these last couple of games, because this is a guy that has dealt with injuries, has dealt with being out of the rotation, being almost a punchline, essentially, in a lot of cases. And for him to be able to show up and contribute real meaningful minutes, put stats up on the board, prove that he can contribute and be actually a part of the rotation. Our biggest criticism of the Celtics team has been their lack of depth and the fact that they have no bench, after Marcus Smart, essentially. So for Robert Williams to come in and say, hey, wait a second, I actually am a skilled, a big man who can actually contribute. I feel 2 needs. I feel depth and I feel size. And if that's somebody who can come in and play, he doesn't have to play a game of his life every game, but if he can come in for minutes, when Tice is out or whoever, and, provide that defensive presence down low, and he's not a guy that anyone's looking to score, but he has that ability to put the ball back in the hoop, second, third, fourth option on offense. Not somebody that anyone's going to, but the ball just ends up in his hands and he can make something happen with it. That's huge, and that part of it is real. So that's the good news. That's maybe the best news out of the last 2 wins for the Celtics against the Nets, where we all said that who cares? It's the Nets. We're not really putting any stock in that. Well, there was a couple things to take out of it that have actually carried over, and I think Robert Williams is the biggest one of them all.
This is what I love about Stevens too. I mean, we'll sit here on this show and rule guys out. He doesn't. And even Semi Ojeleye these last 2 nights, he got garbage time in this one, played a little more meaningful minutes against Brooklyn, but he comes out and hits 4 shots against Brooklyn. The shot looked good again tonight. Him and Romeo were out there playing at the same time, and we've had discussions about that bench battle. Yeah, so he's even starting to make some headway on stuff. So we rule guys out. Stevens doesn't, and all of a sudden it's like 17. Gerald Green was deep on the bench. He pulls him up and has a huge series. So this is the Stevens effect.
But end of the day, all of this stuff is nice. If you get anything from the bench at all, or contributions you didn't expect prior to going into the bubble, that's gravy. But what it comes down to is this: they pass the ball and distribute the ball like they did tonight, and they play this kind of defense. And again, it's when you watch them not do these things, it blows your mind. Like, why? You can do it. So it's so strange for a team that has buy-in and has guys who can be selfless. deviate from this, because this is so obviously the key. When they wing the ball around like this, the ball movement in the first half was gorgeous, all the way into the third quarter.
It was, yeah,
gorgeous, just bing, 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 inside out, open shots, just beautiful. And then the defense was just intense. They were everywhere. Their switches, they were just all over people. This team is really hard to beat when they do this.
Yeah, no question. It was literally the first night since March where I felt like I was actually watching the Celtics team, the same Celtics team that I watched before the stoppage.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was the extra pass, whether it was seeing Marcus Smart do the Cobra strike. Like, when's the last time we saw the Cobra strike? And he was up by 25 points. Like, that's the kind of effort and attitude that you expect to see from the defensive end from the Celtics, whether it's a win or loss, whether it's, you know, a 5-point game or a 25-point game. That was the sort of intensity on defense that we've become accustomed to, and we just hadn't seen it until tonight. This is the first night of the bubble where I'm like, okay, they got that defensive intensity going.
And no one-on-one play. You know, and they did we got a little Tatum happy. We got a little Tatum happy in the last month or so prior to the stoppage because he was so freaking good.
Right.
But they're much better when he's not that guy. You know, like you want that guy there when you need a bucket late. Those guys are great. So when you have him and Kemba that can generate their own shot in tight games, you need that. And they didn't always have that before. But you don't lead with that. You lead with this. This is how you play.
And then you end up with like back-to-back three-pointers for, I don't know, Daniel Tice. Like, that's the kind of, like, you know what I mean? That's the Celtics like offense that we've been accustomed to, where the extra pass leads to something like that.
I mean, there were points before the stoppage that it was the Jason Tatum show, and that's fine too. I mean, take what happens during the game, just take it. But like tonight, I just looked, the leading scorer, 20 points, Jaylen Brown. So when you have a dominant performance like you had tonight, and there's not one guy who's dropping 40, like, you know, if the Rockets win 122-100, there's a good chance that James Harden dropped, 45 points.
45,
you know what I mean? Like, exactly. So like that's how they win, and that works for them and whatever. But like for the Celtics, that Celtics basketball that from this season that we recognize and we remember is, and when the ball's whipping around, they're finding the open man and they're hitting their shots. You don't need to play hero ball, right? And not to bring up last year, but I love to, because I hated that team. It ended up being hero ball, give the ball to Kyrie and stand around. And you could see everybody else in the Celtics was just pissed about it because it wasn't working. Yeah. They felt obligated that that's how it needed to be.
No, it's true. And you have those games where Kyrie sat last year, and then they'd have, oh my God, Kyrie hasn't played, and they had 30, 31, 32 assists in 3 consecutive games. If tonight they had 20, it was like, oh, well, I wonder why. Like tonight they had 27. They had 27 assists, and I think they had 26 when the fourth quarter started or early in it. So the fourth quarter was a wash. But, I mean, they were really distributing it all night. Bobby, sorry I cut you off there.
Yeah, go ahead.
We can't understate Kemba. Like, we came into this bubble not even sure if he was going to be able to go, period. And that would have just derailed everything in place here. And he's been the story all year. He was on a podcast this week talking about he almost went to the Knicks. And it's so easy to forget that this team probably would have been, middling back end of the East without him. Mm-hmm. Like, who knows? Terry Rozier might still be the
do a lot worse than Terry Rozier, Bobby Manning.
I mean, think of that difference. Just in terms of chemistry and playmaking with these other guys. He gets off the ball and sits in the corner and gets his shots right from Tatum, Brown in this one. It's such a difference from last year. Like, that conversation ended a long time ago, but you still have to go back to it sometimes, I think, and realize that this is amazing. Like, we never even expected this guy to be here about a year ago at this time.
Yeah, it's funny because, John, you brought the point about, what this team was last year and having someone like Kyrie Irving lead it. And then you compare that team to the teams of, the 2 years before that, right? The first couple of years of Brad Stevens where it was like sort of lead by committee. And I feel like that part of Brad Stevens' like sort of DNA of what he puts into his teams just never left. Like you're excited for someone like Rob Williams because that's the kind of offense that Brad Stevens runs where guys are able to have opportunities like that where you don't see night after night. You don't know who's going to come up big. That's always been sort of part of Brad Stevens' team DNA in the NBA. And then Kemba Walker comes along and he sort of transformed himself. He adapted to the team as opposed to the team adapting to him, which is the exact opposite of what the Celtics did with Kyrie Irving. And you're seeing it pay off up until now.
And it's so rare. if you had like a role point guard doing what he's doing, it'd be like, okay, this guy's an all-star who's willing to take a back seat to the two wings. It's unbelievable. Like they just had, I don't even know the right metaphor to make, but what just fell into their laps was like a godsend for all the things that went wrong last season.
If he's healthy, yeah.
That's true. If he's healthy, and after spending 9 years in Charlotte, that'll humble you out a little bit, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. Without it, and Jimmy, go ahead. But yeah, the Kemba thing is very clear that when he's right, it changes everything.
Yeah, right. But I mean, let's say, hopefully he's healthy, but he's always been healthy. So I mean, I wouldn't even fault that. It would just be bad luck. I mean, Kyrie Irving's the one who's not healthy, right? I mean, he's the guy who can't stay on the court anymore. Or chooses not to. I don't know which one it is, but
he never really did. That's the thing.
I know. I mean, the bottom line is, Kemba bought in. He bought into the Celtics organization. He bought into the, the team first mentality, and he wants to win. And I mean, it's pretty obvious that Kyrie just didn't buy into those things and didn't establish that bond with his teammates. And that's something that Kemba did. And I don't know if it had to do with them playing together over the summer. The USA team that they had, they already had something going before the NBA season even started. So they were just to pick up right where they left off. I think that was a huge benefit. But I think it just all comes down to personality. Like it's Kemba's personality, and you go all the way back to because he went to UConn. People say about this guy he's just a great guy, wants to win. Super likable. Everyone's on board with him, and I just think that's who he is, and it's easy to play with.
Yeah, and again, the Kyrie thing it's a well-told story, but I will say, I mean, the universe still needs Kyrie Irving. We need him. We do.
We need
to be able to talk about it.
2020, Jimmy. You need those woke people. You
need. Yeah. You got to watch him play because he's frigging spectacular.
He's so good, man. I just wish that he liked
but also,
playing.
I need his brain. I need to hear him say ridiculous things because it's so badass, but fun. So I am a little bummed there's no Kyrie in our worlds right now. I cannot wait for the Kyrie and Durant show. I cannot wait for Kyrie and Durant next year. I really.
That's why the producer guy in you, though. That's
I know.
The businessman in you.
Yo, Xander,
I can't think of
hold on. Xander, do me a huge favor. Can you read Burley Sullivan's comment?
Oh, wait, hold on. Should I put it right on the screen?
If you can. I never saw this before.
What is this?
Oh, my God. Are you right? Hold on.
Yo, he nailed it, right?
Wow. Oh, my God. Hold on. Ready?
Let's put it on here. I don't even
this is anticipation now.
Yo, thanks. I've never saw it before.
I love how I had to wait 10 seconds to see that.
That would make
That's funny.
Have you heard this before, Bobby?
Well, so I got a similar haircut. I mean, you got the skin tone. I'm sure there's Irish heritage there on both sides.
You look like you're in some kind of gamer chair.
You got to the playoffs for the stash.
And the stash, yeah. I mean, it's not a bad comparison.
Now, bro. You got to grow it out.
Now, if they were comparing me to 2010 Gordon Hayward, that might be a problem. But I mean, we both had a glow up here.
Yeah, 2010 Hayward looked like he was 14. That's why, bro.
That's good.
I'll take it. I mean, that's great.
Thank you, Burley. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I never saw it before. I could see it. You could definitely go for. You could pass for a Hayward for sure.
Wow, Connor Press throwing all his Celtics friends under the bus.
He also has the start stash. Yeah.
This is great. This is a great show. I've heard Tyler Zeller. I mean, back in this is the advancement of our time. I mean, I used to be compared to Zeller. I used to have to cover a team that had Journal Lennick, and now I get to cover Kemba, Tatum, and a team, and I get compared to Hayward. Like that is just a huge career advancement.
Well, don't let it get to it. He said Hayward's brother, so not quite like there's a little.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yo, next show, that Horford jersey is gonna turn into a Hayward jersey. I swear. I swear.
That's so good.
That Horford jersey's out of all that's a weird purchase. I'll say it.
What do you mean? He was the unofficial captain.
And not only that, when
it's not really a jersey I'd buy though.
Definitely an upgrade from Zeller.
I bought that like the day after they signed him. Remember, it was the biggest signing in Celtics history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Horford, what happened today with Horford, or was it today that
they won?
He started for Simmons today.
I was gonna say, what happened? What happened now with Philly? Jesus.
No. They won.
So I'm glad. I want to get into this tonight because they're on a collision course. It feels like Sixers Celtics is inevitable at this point, especially Simmons is probably going to miss the rest of the regular season.
Yeah.
And if
he does, said anything else about his time off?
No, it's all up in the air at this point.
Partially dislocated kneecap? Like, what is
It's not great.
I know, right? What does that even mean?
It's either dislocated or it's not, man. Like,
I feel like
it was like a subluxation or something. Yeah.
It's not where it should be. It's not where it should be. Very bad.
They could have just called it dislocated.
It's somewhat located.
Yeah.
We've seen that team a lot without Embiid. Now Embiid being the guy without Simmons, I'm interested. And you talked about they started Horford today. It seemed to go well. It was the Magic, so I don't know how much you can buy into that.
Well, that's the thing is if Simmons was in that lineup playing the 4, Horford just slipped into his natural position alongside Embiid. And that was easy for him. So he had a good game. He had 21 points, 8 of 14.
Wow, he had 21. Okay.
Yeah, he played 30
They're going to be different.
He played 30 minutes. Yeah, so it's a totally different sort of ball game. But you're right. I mean, it was an easy slide for Horford to go into that position in place of Simmons. And, it worked for a game. But I am interested to see it as well, Bobby.
I'm worried because they had so many.
Sorry, go ahead.
One at a time, you dummies.
They have so many mismatched pieces. This was the Celtics last year almost. Like, we can keep comparing those teams that when someone goes down, it feels like things might be able to open up or slide together a little more naturally there. Like, I don't know if they're going to be better without Simmons, if that's where we're headed, but they're going to be much different, and things might just fall into place.
You really need to see them play almost like sliding doors, 2 seasons side by side, one of them entirely without Simmons and one entirely without Embiid, and then just figure out which one works because they can't play together.
But Dennis, you know who shines when either one of those guys is out? Al freaking Horford. It's like, how can these 3 guys not figure this damn thing out? Like, I swear, there was a stretch of games in the regular season where Joel Embiid was out for like 2 to 3 or something like that, like 2 out of 3, and Horford went off. Same thing with Simmons. Now here we go again. Like, I just don't get why these 3 guys can't coexist. I don't get
Joe Sway, I'm gonna
centers.
Joe Sway, I'm gonna tab you to write the Al Horford tell-all book because I want to know what it was like to play alongside Kyrie. And what he really thought, and I want to know what he really thinks right now.
He's seen it all.
Good luck. He'll always just take the high road. That's the type of guy he is.
Yeah,
but I can see Horford like around like age 45 or so, being like, I got a lot of stuff to get off my chest right now. I've been through a lot.
Yeah, he really has. It's like
he could definitely tell. He could do some talks and some stories, I'm sure.
Between Kyrie Irving and Philly fans, that's a book right there, bro. That's a book.
And just whatever's going on right now, because that Philly team seems a bit of a mess. Anyway, we're going off the rails a little bit, so I think we'll wrap it up.
25 more minutes, man. Come on.
We can do it.
Is it better they didn't stick around at this point? Like, are we just glad he didn't sign a contract here?
We said it before. I'll take Tice. I'll take Tice at the money versus Horford for that money. It's not even close. So
I'm fine with how everything played out.
Yeah,
at the time, I was extremely
bummed out
about that. Yeah,
I thought it was terrible,
especially when they made the late run. To some degree, it probably saved Brown. The way the money stacked out too. So that's huge. Like the way Philly gave Boston a big bailout there.
You never know what's lucky. At the time, it seemed like it was a devastating loss and a super unlucky thing to happen, and nobody expected it. You're totally blindsided by it. But you're right. I don't know that it could work out better. I mean, right now you could argue right now Tice versus Horford is a coin flip without the contracts. Just in terms of what you're getting. I'll still give the nod to Al. I thought he was great here. I thought he caught a lot of flack unnecessarily. But yeah, it's right now for that money. It's a no-brainer. All right, we got 3 games left. They're not that exciting, but we'll still do this because why not?
That went by fast, huh?
Yeah, that was good though. It was a good start for all of us. I think we're all hitting our stride at the same time. The Celtics and this group.
For sure.
But it's Orlando on Sunday. We'll be back for that. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you happen to be watching there. Join us next time. Send the questions. It was fun.
We have an audio version as well, so you can subscribe to the podcast too, anywhere you get the podcast.
And
you don't have to look at
my co-host is related to Gordon Hayward. Come on, guys.
It's true.
Yeah. This guy's getting.
And our other co-host is related to Giannis, the Greek freak himself, John.
That's right.
Giannis.
My birth certificate says Giannis. It does.
No way, really?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
That's my name. That's my actual name.
Wow.
I just say John for you, for you guys, so you can understand it.
You dumb Americans, right?
Yeah, and it's not Zanis, it's Zanis, actually.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a revelation. Wow.
I know.
I'm never calling you Zanis again.
Zanis. Yeah. So
Zanis the Beast.
So we'll see you guys Sunday. It's 5:00 tip off with Orlando. We'll be here right after. Good night, everybody.